What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that collaboration in 2022 and 2021, our team reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on March 19th, and you are watching, whether it's live or on repeat or listening on repeat, Black Canada Talking, which is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. So that's where you're at. And before we also get started, if you feel so, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show if you can on YouTube. And if you subscribe on YouTube, I want you to push the like button and also the notification button, because when you subscribe on YouTube and also hit the notification button, you get notified of the Epic Conversations. But wherever you're watching this, please, please, please subscribe. We want to get that subscribership up, and we want you to tell other people about it. So we always like bringing you friends to the Dr. Vibe Show table. This young gentleman, I've had him on my morning Vibe Show, which is on Monday and Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with Ryan Knight, who is the co-executive director of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. But we're bringing him to the Sunday Jive today, the Sunday Ride, because he has a brand new book, and we are excited for him to share about it today. So usually I have to do all this stuff, but you know what? He provided me the information. So you're going to see who our guest is today. And this is our guest today. His name is Perry C. Douglas. He's an entrepreneur and author. He's Caribbean Canadian and is the founder of Douglas Blackwell. Since its inception, Douglas Blackwell has been focused on building strategy, providing insight through intelligence-based research and relentless iteration. Perry believes that personal responsibility, self-reliance, determination, and empathy, underpinned by courage and willingness to venture away from the herd, is essential to finding your authentic happiness. Finding your best entrepreneurial drive gives you the best opportunities. So we have Perry with us today. We're really excited to have him here. He's been running around a bit, so I told him to slow down. Slow down. You're on the Dr. Vibe Show. You're with Dr. Vibe. Just slow down and be yourself. So let's bring up for the Black Canada Talking stage for the first time, but not the last time, Perry C. Douglas. How are you, sir?
Not bad. Thanks for the introduction. I noticed you called me young, so that's good.
Well, you know what? You and I both respect our elders.
Yes.
So definitely in their light, we are young. And again, there's this line that they have out there going, you're as young as you feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and I know Perry and I have spoken before a few times. Perry overcame an injury a little while back. So first things first, I got to find out, how is your health?
You know what? The Achilles is I'm no longer in the booth. I'm going to the gym now. And whenever I go to the gym, I just look in at the basketball court and I'm like, I can't go there, no more running and jumping for me for a while. But no, I'm doing okay. And the injury is, not 100%, but I'm good.
Excellent. Well, that's good. And family is good?
Yeah, everybody's good, man. God bless. That's the most important thing in the world, right? So, where family's doing well, kids are healthy, that's the number one thing for me.
Good. So for our Black Canada Talking family, this is the first time they've seen you on our platform here. Other than that wonderful bio, can you share a little bit of background about yourself before we get into the real meat of our conversation today?
Well, it depends how far back you want to go. I mean, I was born like many of us here in Canada, born in the Caribbean, in Grenada. Parents brought me here, early age. I grew up in Montreal. I grew up in Montreal, hometown, and went to McGill University in Montreal. Came to Toronto. And Montreal is where I met my wonderful best human being on the planet, my wife, Petal. And we came to Toronto. I started working in investment business, and I finished up with with a major investment firm. I think I can't remember the year I finished with them, but UBS, one of the largest. Actually, they just took over Credit Suisse today.
They just did it today.
Did it today. They had to because Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse is.
Yeah, it was going down. There's definitely a crisis coming in.
You know what? What? I want a parking lot that because I want to get your take. Well, a little bit later. I want to talk about the book first, but what do you see from your lens about what's going on in the banking industry and how how will affect us? So we'll parking lot that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so like I said, I worked for UBS, and then after that, I spent a little time with AIC, working with Michael Lee Chin, and then after that, I went out on my own as an entrepreneur, and here I am, and the company I run now, the small firm, Douglas Blackwell, and like you said, we focus on strategy and insight, and we're moving into the area of software development, specifically for strategy. So that's who I am. I got 3 wonderful kids. My oldest is Alexandra. She's the artist, and she's working in the movie industry now. She went to Ryerson. My son, Nathan McGill, and my youngest, Asia, who is actually in her first year at McGill. I got to hype her up. She's the Canadian 8-time national champion, Pan American champion in judo. So she's badass.
What? Yeah, man. Well, where'd you get that from, mom or dad?
I'm gonna be smart and say from mom.
Okay. That's fantastic.
Yeah, man. So I'm blessed, man. Listen, what else is there? Family, kids are good and healthy. Nice. It's all good.
Nice. Let me ask a little bit about your background, because when did you realize that business would be your lane?
I got to tell you, right? I come from and I talk about this in the book too. I come from, I believe, an entrepreneurial family. I come from a family where my grandparents on Douglas side were entrepreneurs. They, they sent. They had, how it was back then, 12 kids or whatnot. So, developed a bakery, gas station, did a whole bunch of stuff, sent all their, whoever wanted to go to universities in Canada, the US, London, pretty good feat. So I think it comes from a culture, right, of personal responsibility, right? It comes from a culture of understanding nobody owes you anything. No one's going to do anything if you want to do things, you got to do it yourself. So I don't credit it to something that, I'm a special person or whatnot. I believe it comes from the culture, and you see your family and you understand what's going on with your family, and you have older, parents and uncles and aunts who become your role models, and you just sort of naturally become, entrepreneurial. You want to go into business. When I was in sports, I was always a leader. I was always innovative, and I was not afraid to take risks. And I think I was not afraid to take risks because I had a lot of self-confidence. And again, that self-confidence is a cultural thing, right? And when I worked for some of the big firms in Canada, RBC, and then UBS, and then after I went out on my own, I'm like, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Don't get me wrong, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. At the end of the day, you better have a purpose, because there's days where it's like you don't know what the heck is, where things are coming from, what's going on. But if you have a purpose, right, that purpose will lift you up, get you out of bed, and get you moving. So from an entrepreneurship, perspective, it's not about, you hear entrepreneurship, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur these days, right? Take entrepreneur courses or whatnot. No, that's not how it works. Okay. You got to have a vision. You got to have a purpose, and you got to have something that's meaningful for you. And you're going to have to want to actually do something for people. If you're going into entrepreneurship to make money, you're probably not going to succeed. You have to go into entrepreneurship to actually do something that's meaningful, that can either help people, and make others' lives better. So,
Mm-hmm.
that that's pretty much it.
I just want to, we could land on that for the next few minutes, but I know we got to move along. But I do want to ask another thing. When was the moment you realized that you had to say goodbye corporate and it's time to be an entrepreneur?
Good question. So, I've always been a person, like I said, I'm in love with my family. I'm in love with, my kids and wife, and that's the most important thing in my life. So, when I first started in the business, you started as a rookie. You had to go build a book of business. You got to go find clients. I used to leave the house before it got dark and come back in the dark. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Come back in the dark. And
Mm-hmm.
had one kid, two kids, three kids. So I think, before my son was my second one, Nathan, before he was born, I'm like, you know what? I am not going to retire here and get a gold watch, right? Figure of speech. They don't give you gold watches anymore. Just put you out the pasture.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that, because I had a vision in me that, for me, being from the Caribbean, I saw the Caribbean in a position where, it's not growing, increase in poverty, technology is changing, the world is changing. So I saw a need to try to help the area where I was born, and to help my people. So from a business perspective, my thing was, the only way the Caribbean is going to succeed is through economic growth and entrepreneurship and those type of things. So essentially, when I had that vision, and I had that purpose, and I had that goal, and knowing me taking risks, I just went out there and said, you know what, I'm going to do something by myself. And I literally came home. My wife always tells the story. I came home one day and said, oh yeah, I left my job. I'm going to go into business. And I was making,
Yeah. Decent thing.
yeah,
Decent.
right. Like, you come out of university, you're able to, buy a nice house, nice guys, and you're rolling, right? You're rolling. You got 6-figure income coming in, taking vacations, you're rolling, you're doing everything. So one person said to me, why would you give that up?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you give that up to put everything at risk? You got a young family. Because there's more out there. There's more out there for me. And that does not satisfy me. I don't want to live my life. It's, money in itself, money is just a score. Okay. I do not want to leave this world without some form of legacy. I do not want to leave this world without contributing to this world. I don't want to leave this world where, I know I had the necessary skill and the drive to help my people and didn't do anything about it. Don't want to leave the world like that. I want to leave the world a legacy where my kids and my grandkids can say one day, my dad and my grandfather did that. So there's more. Again, life is not about money. Don't get me wrong. It's been a struggle. Some days it's been really hard, but I'm fortunate to have really good relationships. I'm really good relationships, and I'm fortunately have really good friends. One particular really great friend who's always there. I mean, life is about relationships. Okay. And you got to be honest, and you got to be straightforward. And, people are either, if you're honest and straightforward, people are going to believe you and believe in you. And so for me, it was more, not that I was making $1 million, but what's a million? What's 10 million? Right. What does that do? Right. The purpose and looking at things really bigger, right, is where we want to go. And, that's what I see. And I feel very, very close to achieving that. So part of writing the book was to, from a credibility perspective, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy knows what he's talking about. I put it all out there so people can read, so you can criticize and you can say whatever. I put my stuff out there. And now after this, we're going to move into the area of software. And I think our timing is I was just talking to my software developer today. I think, our timing is really great. And listen, man, I'm just about getting it done. That's about
Yeah, don't get good, get done, right?
just get it done. Exactly.
Before we move on to the next part of our conversation, you mentioned a good friend. Who was that good friend you were going to mention?
Oh, my boy, Big Chef. Big Chef. Shout out to Big Chef. Shout out to Big Chef.
Yeah, well, we got to say his name because people go, what are they talking about?
Big Chef, Uncle Ray Williams, Grenadian Tivoli Massive, everything, man. He's my Grenadian boy. I mean, country boy. But there are few guys, who who's a mentor to me. I would, him, and I would say, if I don't know this other guy, Robert Smith, but there couldn't be any more real human being than Uncle Ray Williams. That guy talks the talks, walks the walk, and the man could cook. Lord of mercy.
I haven't had the pleasure, man. The guy, I've always seen the pictures, but I haven't been given the grand invite yet. I said yet.
Man can cook. Man can cook. When he's retired, he's gonna. This is what I'm gonna. I already told him. We're gonna get a restaurant. I'm gonna call it Uncle Ray's. Right. I love that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna build that restaurant. Because he has the personality. Yes. He has his food is just like so all over the man could just make anything for me. Listen, the man made some Korean ribs the other day. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, how can he do this stuff? Right? You got to take a towel and wipe his head off, but he can cook. No, but he's like I said, my Grenadian brother, and he's for real. And that's for me. That's what I connect with. I connect for people who are real, right? Because I can't be fake. I can't be anything other than who I am, right? And he's the same way. And it's just a beautiful relationship. And that's my brother.
All right. Well, we would regard Ray as there was a song many years ago called OPP.
Yeah.
Well, Ray is OQP, only quality people.
Oh yes, only quality people, 100%. And he's getting an award. I don't know if I should say it, but sorry, Ray. He's getting an award from the University of West Indies. They're honoring him on the 29th.
Wow.
Of April. So he's getting a recognition award. So you know what? Well deserved.
Well deserved. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm tagging along with him. I'll be security that night. That's it. I get a free meal.
So what is your payment a meal by him?
Listen, man, he takes care of everything. He's the man.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book. Why and how long have you been sitting on this side? How long were you sitting on the idea of the book?
I was just sitting and thinking about this for the longest time, and I actually said, okay, I'm going to start writing this. So I got about 168 pages in, and I'm like, nah, this is crap, and I just tossed it, delete, and I started over. And the reason I wrote this book is because I saw a need where the world is changing. We're now into the digital era, right? And I'm looking at what Black folks are doing, and we're doing a lot of things that are absolutely wrong, and we're not winning, right? And in this world today, you have to win. And if we are doing a lot of things, but we're doing a lot of things based on emotion. Okay, we're not maximizing our intellectual capacity to understand. So my purpose of this book was to go back and explain to people how the universe really works, how nature works. And one of the things I've come up with is called the sophistication of self-preservation. Because if you do not understand the sophistication of self-preservation, you won't survive. Because you first have to survive in order to thrive. When the brothers were out there in the plains, 50,000 years ago in the plains of Africa, they had to create, the line coming, and they had to feed, they had to create stone tools or whatever it was. That took intelligence. It didn't take emotion, right? So you go back in history, right? And history is the cornerstone of this book, because history is data. And if you don't pay attention to history, you're not going to be able to, figure stuff out. So for me, I'm looking at, we're creating all these groups, we're creating all these organizations, Black Lives Matter, this and this, all these things. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that doesn't work, right? If it was working, okay. And the other thing is, we don't understand history. A lot of these things, particularly in America, if you go through the data, has been tried. A lot of things, particularly in Canada and in the Caribbean, that we're trying today as Black people, has been tried before in the US, and it has failed. It has not worked. In fact, I was telling my wife today, as I wrote an article a long time ago, Black families were better off in the 70s, early 80s. Okay, 2-parent households.
This is interesting. This is interesting research.
Really, yeah, we are today. That's the research. Yeah, that's the research. We were better off then than we are now. So why is that? Right? These are the questions. So my purpose was to write this book for us to get a good understanding, okay, a good understanding of how the universe works. And one of the things that we have to sort of understand is that one of the most inspirational quotes that's in the preface of the book is by Marcus Garvey. And it says, never forget, intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. So therefore remove yourself as far as possible from ignorance, and seek as far as possible, to intelligence. So, I mean, that was Marcus Garvey, how many, years ago, over 100 years ago. And, and Einstein, I'm a big math and physics guy in terms of how, making you understand how the nature of the universe works. And Einstein, said, back then, you can't solve, your problems in the same system or thinking that the problem was created in. You have to move to a higher dimension of thinking. So in this book, I'm not here to try to, tell people what to believe, change their culture in terms of their belief system, their religion, whatever it is. I'm offering a new paradigm in terms of thinking. I'm offering you a new framework, okay, which is based on intelligence, okay, and information and research. So I'm offering you a new way to think in order to outperform in the universe, because at the end of the day, it comes down to winning. So, applied intelligence is really a strategic way to apply your intelligence in order to solve problems and to get what you want within your time here in the world.
I love it, the AI, because when most people think about AI, they think of artificial intelligence. So I love your spin on applied intelligence. And I was going to ask you what it is, so you already explained it, but I want to go back a few moments ago, and I'm sure you mentioned the book. If not, how do you feel a lot of the Black community thinks versus the way the world thinks?
That's beautiful.
And I know that's very crucial in your book. So if you can go a little bit into that, I appreciate that.
So it's what Marcus Garvey says. So if you go back and dissect that quote, intelligence rules the world, okay, and ignorance carries the burden. So if you apply intelligence and move away from emotion, okay, you have a better and think mathematically, quantitatively, you will have a better chance of succeeding in the universe as opposed to emotion. However, for us in the Black community, we think emotionally. We have the romanticization of racism, okay? We everything comes at it from an emotional perspective, okay? And that has not worked. If something doesn't work, you got to look back and say, hey, that doesn't work. Now, so that emotion is ignorance, and I'm using ignorance in the pure sense of the academic word, not not in an insulted way. If you look up that word, the ignorance, not knowing and not putting time, and a lot of that is willful ignorance. Okay, people have to read, and the reason why I wrote this book, people have to read. Facebook, social media, all those things. Hey, not criticizing them or whatnot, but that can't teach you. right? It actually makes you lazy, and it degrades your mind. Okay, so what has to happen? Those things are emotional ways of dealing with things. What I'm saying, you need to analyze things. You need to put things in a framework. You need to think mathematically. One of the things I'm saying in the book: always do the math. Okay, so if you take a look at it and you go back, let's look at slavery. Okay, let's look at that. So at the end of the day, people think about slavery. Is that white folks thought black folks were inferior and the white folks were superior. Yes, they did, and that's after the church came in and underpinned that. But slavery was just an economic thing, because at the end of the day, Europe needed expansion. Okay, and if you can go and slavery has happened all over the world. Okay, but if you can go and use force, okay, and get free resources and then human resources, and if you can take those free human resources, bring them to another part of the world where it's nice and warm, and you can create agriculture, and you can take the minerals, and you can take all the precious whatever they are, all the material natural resources. If you can do that, you got no labor costs. You got no cost of of raw materials. You got no costs. So if you have no cost in the business, right, and you can take those resources, ship it over to Europe, and create manufacturing and trade and commerce, okay, you're going to make a fortune. And that's all the castles that are in Britain, for example, was built through slavery. Buckingham Palace. That's what it is. It's white supremacy, right? So understand, okay, what they were doing. It wasn't because they were like hated black people. It was an economic decision. And remember, there's no morality. I talk about in the book, economics is not a morality play. It's a power play. Okay. And if you can control the economics, okay, you can use your money to move that to politics. You can use your money to control, the judicial system and write the laws that you want. So it was a use of intelligence. Okay, we're not talking about the morality of the situation. I'm just giving you an example. It was intelligence. Okay, so this is why Garvey back then was saying, when you read more of his stuff, intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. So we have to remove ourselves as far away as we can from ignorance and emotion and focus on our intelligence. And that's the only way, we're going to make it out, right? It's the only way. If there's another way, then guess what? It's not working,
All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
So just doing a reset here for people who are watching this. We're here talking with Perry C. Douglas about his book, Applied Intelligence, A Renaissance in New Thinking for the Caribbean, Prosperity in the 21st Century. And we're getting some knowledge bombs from Perry today. So if you're watching live, certainly provide your comments. See, people are starting in with their comments. And Ryan, you know this name, Ryan Knight. That's why I love the book, The Blueprint by Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. And he also says here, we must learn how to accumulate true power. In your book, Perry, do you address why we haven't been able to get to the point of applied intelligence?
Yes. So one of the things I do in the book is, in order for me, the book's in 4 parts. And the first part is really trying to explain how the universe works and explain data and explain applied intelligence, right? Because historically, what has happened is we've been trained to adhere to white supremacy culture. And what I mean by that, I don't mean white supremacist, racist, whatever, whatnot. It's the white supremacy culture. So in the Caribbean, for example, we want to be administrators after colonial times. We want to be doctors. We want to be lawyers. Nobody wants to be entrepreneurs, right? So what happens is, because we move to status. And one of the perfect examples, Barbados, right? So after independence, if you look, there's no white politicians in Barbados, and the whites in Barbados is 3.5% of the population, but they control 83% of the economy. Because what happens, politicians made a deal with them. Okay, we'll we'll do the, and Hillary Beckles has written extensively on this. So again, everything I'm saying here is based on research. It's not Perry Cummins. So you can check Sir Hillary Beckles, University Vice Chancellor, University of West Indies, on this too. So what happens after independence? Everybody wants status. They want to be the minister of this, the minister of that, right? So they made a deal with the whites that, okay, we'll deal with the politics, okay, and you whites can still have the economics. What kind of stupid, ridiculous, idiotic thing was that? Like madness. Because if you understand how the world works, everything flows from economics. Power flows from economics, not from politics. So what has happened is, for example, in the Caribbean, we've taken on a top-down approach, okay? And since World War II in this development discourse, top-down has not worked, it has failed. The research has shown that you can't point to one single top-down UN-based thing that has worked.
Well, just to interrupt you, just the other day I was listening to a commentator, and and hopefully we'll get to it before the conversation ends today, about, remember back Reagan had trickle-down economics?
Yes.
Right? And probably one of the, in a lot of people's minds, the beginning of the downfall of the American economics, and saying that give money to the rich or give money to the top and it will filter down to the bottom. Why would they want to filter it down to the bottom?
by the time you filter it down, there's pennies, right?
Exactly.
That's you know what, Dr. Vibe, that's an excellent analysis, because what has happened, it's the same thing with top-down economics. Top-down economics hasn't worked. The evidence in the world in the modern world, last 2,000 years, is bottom up entrepreneurship. Every civilized society that has grown bottom up through entrepreneurship and created a middle-class economy. There is no economy in the world that has grown from the UN and the World Bank and all these people coming in and their economy being, so the Caribbean economy right now is not run by entrepreneurs or local people. It's run by consultants from the UN. It's run by academics. And what makes it worse is the Black people in there who are the academics buy into this nonsense, right? So what happens now is people suffer, okay? Because trickle-down economics doesn't work. Top-down economics doesn't work, according to the data. So why are we doing it? And they bring in these consultants, and who makes the money? The consultants. And then it becomes corrupt, right? Because, politicians get paid and all that. And we have no economy. We have no enterprise growth economy base. We have no export generating economy. So once you have a bottom-up economy, once you create a middle-class economy, people have jobs, people have high incomes, skilled trades, okay? They can have a mortgage, send their kids to school, and that's how the economy goes, and that's how you create a sustainable economy over the long term. What we have there, right now, is just a bunch of academics going around. Like CARICOM is a big talk shop. CARICOM is a talk shop full of guys with PhDs in nonsense, right? and it's just not working. And they're spending taxpayers' money to go help themselves help themselves talk. You ask anybody on the street in the Caribbean, what has CARICOM done since it came in the 70s? Zero. Look it up. That straight facts here, man. Straight facts.
It's interesting. The other day, my dad called me and he said, something's wrong at home. I go, what's wrong at home? He says, Jamaica is now importing ganja, which is marijuana, from Canada. So I said, Perry's book is coming out.
Boy, I tell you, okay? I tell you, and you know what? And Jamaica, as big as it is the worst, okay? Because, Jamaica now is owned by China.
Yep.
Right? Okay? Jamaica is owned by China.
And most of Africa, too.
Yes, exactly. Jamaica has done such a terrible job. The Chinese come in there and they own stuff. And in the book, I give you the data. I give you all the things. I go through all the investigative reports. It's all there, point by point by point by point. And that's the chapter called Don't Blame China. Okay? That's the chapter. Okay? So Jamaica is the worst. It's the worst. And you think about this, Jamaica. Think about this, right? Usain Bolt, okay? This
Oh
is
my God.
this is just a way to give you an understanding of Jamaica. Usain Bolt, a hero, a national hero, brought fame, and he's Jamaica. Yes, Bob Marley gave you reggae, but Usain Bolt put you on the map in the modern era.
Yeah.
Okay. And the young man has stayed scandal free. He hasn't done anything. He's come back to Jamaica. He's living in Jamaica. And the man is responsible with his money. Okay. He's responsible with his money. He puts away $10, $12 million for, he's taking care of his parents, taking care of everybody, but put away money for his old age. He's done everything perfect. And you go thief the man money? Right? And now you're blaming some woman who stole the money. No, it's an inside job. We all know that to the very, very top. There's no regulatory, surveillance in Jamaica or whatnot. How are you going to steal $12 million and nobody know? There's pure corruption. And the same things that Jamaican politicians do in terms of taking money from China and selling out their own people. Okay? It's terrible. All right? So, I mean, Jamaica is a microcosm of what's wrong with us, right? What's wrong with us? So we have to move away from this emotion, okay, and use our intelligence, use quantitative thinking. Other than that, we are going to perish because the rest of the world is moving in the digital economy, is moving forward, okay, and we're still doing nonsense, right? So that's reality.
Got a question here from Ryan asking, what was supposed to be CARICOM's objective?
Boy, Ryan, that's a good question. I don't even know anymore. From my understanding, right? From my understanding, CARICOM was supposed to create a common community, make things easier, make it easier to do business with each other.
Maybe right? Something like the European, how they formed. What was the European thing they called?
The European Union.
Yes. Was that something similar to that, maybe?
Yeah, I believe that's pretty much what all common unions tried to do, right? But the problem was it's run by academics, right? It's run by academics, people who are on salaries, right? So and it's not working. Nobody could, my cousin Claude Douglas, who extraordinarily knows so much about the Caribbean, he will tell you, how CARICOM has failed, and when we talk about things like this failing, it's not an abstract thing that it's failed. What happens? Real people get hurt. So when this failure, which happens in CARICOM, which is what CARICOM exists, it's just a failure. Real people suffer. Even my country, Grenada, I show the data, and where Grenada is going, Grenada is moving towards a Haiti. And people are going to get all, oh my God. Well, no, it's not what I'm saying. Look at the data. This is World Bank data. There's poverty there's poverty in that country because there's no leadership. Okay. And we do the same thing over and over and over again. We got two parties. Oh, you like this guy, so I'll vote this guy this time. Oh, like this guy, he gives you a hand. He comes and you wear a T-shirt, but nobody holds leaders to from a responsibility perspective. So the other thing is the people themselves have to take responsibility, okay, and don't only blame the politician, blame themselves, because they're the ones who allow the politicians to get away with it, because they just keep voting for the same old thing and the same old people and accept every 4 or 5 years or whatever, they accept the same old song and dance. So if you continue emotionally to be driven by that versus being driven by quantitative thinking and taking a look and saying, what the hell? Like my mother used to say, nothing to go so. Something's wrong here, right?
No go so.
Exactly. Right. So common sense and your intellectualism is not this big. We all have intellect. That's how we make it in the world.
Right.
So we have to start maximizing our intellectual capacity as opposed to just continuing with this emotional decision making. Emotional decision making does not work.
Perry, I know you care about Black people.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to transcribe these facts onto paper and not approach it from an emotional lens?
Good question. So this is the reason why I write with facts and data, and the book is called Applied Intelligence, because the test for me is not to necessarily give my opinion. The facts, the thing for me was to take the data and to transcribe it into readable, and explain. So you still have to do a little storytelling and whatnot, but my book is basically based on facts and based on data, applied intelligence. So part one of the book, really, the first chapter. So I write a little bit differently. I have an introduction, and then I have prelude to. I have about two of those, and then chapter one is called The Nature of Economics. So I explain economics like an ecosystem, okay? Because economics is an ecosystem, and the ecosystem of how you survive, how you thrive, how certain plants can make it, and how others die off, regeneration. So I do that, and then I get into, second chapter I believe is Beyond Theories. Okay, so I bring up all the theories, macro, whatever, and then chapter 3 goes into Applied Intelligence. So I'm showing you how data works. I'm showing you how all these things work, and then the second chapter is more case studies, more evidence, and then the other chapter is more evidence with examples, and then it's only part 4 where I give my opinion, but I have to respect my readers. I got to back it up first before I can give you an opinion. I don't give an opinion and don't back it up. I back everything up. So the arguments that I make in part 4 of the book, okay, the arguments that I make is already backed up by data. And one of the things that I do, okay, is that, for example, the question is, what is applied intelligence, right? So I create the what I call the 6 steps, okay, to applied intelligence. The 6 steps to success, the 6 steps to happiness. So that's what applied intelligence is. So just quickly, the first steps is data sourcing, and identifying the problem. Okay, that's the first step, right? Get your data, identify the problem. The second step is the insights. Step number 2, insights and targeting. And here's where you kind of frame the strategic question, and then you go on to strategy and planning, which is idea generation, okay, and insights and all that. And then you move to number 4, which is very important, data, information, and quality control. So the data that you put in, garbage in, garbage out. So the data that you put in is important. So here, all we're concerned about is what we want to find here is the objective truth. We don't want any opinion. We don't want how you feel. It's the search for the objective truth, and that is scientific. We're looking for the objective truth. And then number 5 is, understanding challenges and execution. And then number 6 is you have to constantly measure and iterate and all that. And then once you do that, you get to a state of, applied intelligence, and you get to the state of winning. So I break all those things down. Okay, here are the steps, and it's deep. But I just wanted to quickly give you the 6 steps. And at the end of the book, I give 10 things that you should do that will help us succeed. So it's based on science, and that's what it is.
Do you feel that many melanated people are ready to take the journey?
Ready or not, here it comes. And we better get ready, because guess what? The rest of the world is moving forward. So if we're not ready, what you're saying, if you're not ready to listen to if you're not ready to listen to the objective truth, that means you're governed by ignorance and you're governed by emotion. Okay, and I explained that very nicely, right? I explained that because I think you have to explain things in a historic perspective in order for people to understand. And the book came out like 500 and something pages. Well, there's a lot of charts and there's a lot of pictures in there, and the note section is big and all that, because all the sources. But I think all in all, it's plus 500 pages. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. But I went over it, and my daughter was like, maybe I should cut some. She goes, no, Dad, what you have to say is what you have to say, right? So we have to be able to accept the objective truth. I'll ask you the question: what good is lying to yourself? It might make you feel good in the moment, but the next day you wake up, you can't pay for your kids to go to university. You can't pay, also it's what I did a talk at McGill University, and the question was about the sophistication of self-preservation. And just a short plug, my YouTube channel, I have some of those videos on it. It's Applied Intelligence, Applied Intelligence. You can go check it out there. But what I explained, right, is that people are like, oh, all your kids at university, 2 kids in a top school like McGill, I said that didn't require any type of, my kids are not more brilliant than anything else, than anybody else. What it was discipline and training and whatnot. And from a sophistication of self-preservation, okay, you need to have money. You need to have income, because my daughter, like to get into McGill, my daughter needed math scores in the 90s. It's stupid, but that's what it is. If you want to get into those type of schools, you need math scores in the 90s. So, what did I do? I got her a tutor, and I paid $80 a week, sometimes twice a week. So, her functions and her calculus and all that. So wealth has a benefit in terms of creating intergenerational wealth and opportunity. So for me to assure that she gets those math marks, we pay for tutors. She gets the math marks. She's in the top school, and life starts, and she's moving. She's on the right trajectory. So how can you do that without any type of middle class lifestyle or middle class income? That's just a fact of life, right? It requires capital. And if you can't understand that, then it's just emotional ignorance.
Because as I tell people, I've come to the point where we don't live in a democracy, we live in a capitalistic society.
100%. Well said. 100%. Always will be.
Always will be. In your writing, you say new thinking for the Caribbean prosperity in the 21st century, but would you think it's also for Blacks in North America?
100%. 100%. And, I'm going to give you the scientific reason of why I did that. Being from the Caribbean, so naturally wanted to help my people, but we're all Black people anyways. In the book, I use the word Caribbean people of African descent. I never say Caribbean people of African descent, because that's where we're all from. Okay. We may have ended up in Brazil and in Jamaica and Grenada, but same ships. Okay. So one of the reasons why I looked at it scientifically, the Caribbean actually has the best opportunity to achieve extraordinary wealth. Okay. And I give you the case analysis like a Singapore. Okay. Guess what? Botswana did it. That's what Black Panther is made after. Botswana. That's real. Botswana had, for about 15 years, I believe, had the fastest growing economy in the world. Look that up. Okay. Because they applied strategy and did that. Rwanda, after the Rwanda genocide. Look at Rwanda now. Everybody in Europe is pumping in money into Rwanda because they created a strategy and they're moving up. Grenada has the opportunity, to do that. And why is that? Because it's more monolithic. It's smaller, and it's one particular culture. So if you go through the science of that, civilizations tend to do better in those situations. In America, I'm not going to say it's hopeless, but you don't have that because you're too small of a population. You're too insignificant. And in Canada, I don't know what we are, 4 or 5% of the population. So the reason why I did applied intelligence for Caribbean, because I do believe, and the book goes through step by step how it can be achieved. Caribbean has the best chance to achieve extraordinary wealth. Now, when you talk about being in Canada too, yes, I see here in Canada, a lot of us in Canada, we're kind of lost. and we're trying to, like, for example, I think your boy the other day on the show was talking about the guy from Buy Black. What's his name again?
Roger Dundas.
Yeah, he made a good point. And by the way, he was supposed to contact me. Tell him he didn't contact me yet.
I will get to him on this. He may. I will. He's mentioned your name in a number of our conversations.
Let's get it done. So
yep.
he brought up a good point. Yes. Everybody wants to do a gala. Everybody wants to have a party, right? Everybody to celebrate what? For example, my good friend there, Black North. What are you celebrating? Absolutely failure? Nothing? What have you done? Tell me what you've done. Why are you celebrating? Why is the bar so low? If you're going to celebrate something, let's see what you've done. And he was right. Take that money, okay? And if you have any money, take that money, invest it into education and science and technology for kids to go to school so they can get into the top university. What are you celebrating? Show me the success. Show me the factual data, the information that you are so successful that you're going to go celebrate, right? What are you celebrating? So we need to stop. There's always a celebration here, a celebration there. Forget that. Put your head down, get it done, okay? Create wealth, and then move forward. Because here's the other problem, okay? Celebrating, Black people don't have the wealth to write $1 million checks, $100,000 checks, like other communities do. Other communities get it done, okay? They get it done. They build their own community centers and they raise capital, okay? But they've got it done first, then they're celebrating. But when they're celebrating, they're raising more money. But we're putting the cart before the horse. We're celebrating before we got anything done, right? Madness, right? All ego, okay? Everybody wants to dress up. Nah, not me.
It's interesting, and as a number of people have come to me back channel wise and saying all this money that's spent on these celebrations should go directly to helping people directly.
Yes.
So, which leads off topic a little bit, but I would want to know what your feedback is, if any, about the whole conversations going on in San Francisco about reparations. Have you heard?
I mean, I understand the whole argument. I haven't heard particularly about reparations in California, but one of the guys who's been on reparations for a while is Hillary Beckles, the vice chancellor over at University of West Indies, and Hillary Beckles has made arguments for reparations or whatnot. In my book, I cover reparations and I cover what his arguments, but respectfully, I disagree. Well, the problem is, right, we become distracted. Okay, so the question is, if we get reparations, how is that going to help us? No, seriously, how is it going to help us? Because you can't quantify. So let's do the math on that. Okay, if you're going to give reparations, okay, it's billions and billions, if trillions of dollars. Do the math on that, because when you think about it, right, let's look at the Caribbean. If you think about it, the money that for example, in the tobacco business in London, for example, the tobacco barons, the sugar barons, all those guys, all those statues that are up there, all those guys they stole money from the Caribbean, they stole resources, and they've created extraordinary wealth. So all that wealth that they've achieved, all those big castles that they have, should be given back because they stole it in the first place. So that's not going to happen. Right. And it is not going to happen. You've seen what's happening in UK right now and the rest of the world. The world is moving to more nationalistic movements. Everybody is becoming more tribal. Everybody is, if you put energy into entrepreneurship, if you put energy into, getting tutors to make sure your kids get into the best school, get the best opportunity. This is a long-term thing, okay? One of the things I talk about, I have a chapter called Long Time. Everything happens over the long term. You cannot create wealth from today and start today and create it tomorrow. It's intergenerational, okay? It's an intergenerational thing. So the same way my mom came to Canada and hustled, my brother and I fortunately she kept us focused, kept us disciplined. My brother and I went to the best schools. We now created wealth. We're, middle class. Our kids are going to the best schools. So when we go, our kids are going to have some millions of dollars and move forward. They're going to be in business. And this is intergenerational. But if you don't start it, if you don't create a base, okay, and you're sitting there waiting for reparations, like come on, that is just it's just ridiculous. And what happens is, this is why we get caught up in the emotions. We get caught up in not understanding how the real world works. We get caught up in trying to get things easy. Nothing is easy. Okay, nothing is easy. All right, we from a Caribbean perspective, even from American perspective, Canadian perspective, we're only 400 years old. It is, if you look at the world in from a universe perspective, which is billions of years, and if you look at the world, all life started from Africa. If you look at the world for millions of years, and Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, all walked out of Africa, moved over. I mean, the world 300, 400, 500 years, we're young. Okay, we have more upside than downside. But if we sit there, get distracted by reparations and this, and this thing is victimhood. Okay, this victimhood. Okay, my mother told me, you're not a victim. Okay, no matter what, you're not a victim. You go out there, and it doesn't matter what odds you're fighting against. Okay, no one is going to give you anything. So if you don't go out and hustle and fight and try to get it, you're just going to be sitting in the same spot tomorrow. Okay, so this reparation thing is a complete waste of time. Do you really think people are going to write these big checks, and then what will happen when they write these checks? Who gets the money? Okay, all of a sudden, who gets the money? How are you going to trace lineages? Okay, we're better off spending our time, okay, and educating our children in the math and sciences, entrepreneurship, okay, and building up from the bottom up, and creating wealth, and think long-term, and think intergenerationally. Okay, that's the way the world works. Okay, there is no other way. And again, if you know another way, tell me. But it's not in this universe. And as far as I know, there's only one universe.
Okay, we're on a very interesting line of conversation. I'm going to jump off on Lane just for a little bit. How did it feel holding the first copy of the book?
Oh, it was
sort of jump off a little because you're getting so fired up.
It was great. So there's a line here, which is, this is what the proof copy. So you send it to you to make sure everything is okay. So everything is fine. So I'm keeping the proof copy with the line here, because this is the first copy. So holding this in my hand and looking at it, I must say, you know what? I felt good, but it was a humbling experience. I'm like, wow, I did that. People actually liked the way when my editor was editing it, really smart guy. He's like, wow, this is really good. This is really good writing. My editing is really grammar. There's no structure or whatnot. Right. So I was humbled. I mean, I just said, okay, I did it. But, one of my friends, congratulated me on it. And he said to me, there's one thing I know about you. If you put your mind to something, you're going to do it, and you stick with it. And that's just who I am. Because to achieve anything in life, you got to just do it. Just get it done. You just got to get it done. That's it. And you know what was driving me is I had a purpose. I do believe the Caribbean, for example, is in peril. One of the big issues I talk about, there's climate change, and we don't understand the peril of climate change. The Caribbean, I explain scientifically, I show the data, we could be underwater, 75 to 100 years from now. So, well, we don't want to think about that, right? But, your kids and grandkids have to deal with that. But if we know this now as a people, and we sit back and do nothing about it, okay, well, that's not me. I am not somebody who's going to see something and know it could affect my kids, my grandkids, where I'm from, and sit back and do nothing. So this book was really, from a factual perspective, to give my contribution to the Caribbean problem and give my contribution to help the Black people of African descent, the Caribbean people of African descent, my species of people. And that's why I wrote it. So that was my purpose.
How has it changed you, this process? How's it changed you?
Yeah, it has changed me. It is, I think, believe it or not, it has changed me to I have more empathy for people and their issues and their problems. And for me, my life, I really want, I really want to help people. I really want to contribute, because not everybody may have the passion, the know-it-all, the knowledge, or whatever. And if you do, you have to give your contribution to society. And one of the things actually I do talk in the book about, in part in the nature of economics, I talk about what Adam Smith, father of capitalism. You have to individually do things, get things done, be successful. And if you do things and if you become entrepreneurial, you're successful, you contribute to your family's well-being, your community's well-being, your society's well-being, and your country's well-being. And if every individual just kind of, based on their core competencies, just do their parts and don't care who gets the credit, okay, that's the way we can lift our people and lift the nation. But we all want to exist in silos, and we all want the praise and the whatnot. So for me, I wrote the book because you got people on Facebook and here and saying all these phrases. Yep. I put it in writing, so you can hear exactly what I want. I put it in writing because when I put it in writing, I have to better know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so that's why I put it in writing.
Anything else you want to share with our family today? I think you covered a lot of stuff, man. But as always, you're dropping knowledge bombs. Anything else you want to share with our family?
No, I mean, I just, I like to thank you for allowing me to, give me a platform, to talk about
Absolutely.
the book. I mean, when you write a book, there's a lot of work that goes into the marketing. And right now, books don't become bestsellers necessarily because they're great. I think mine is good, but there's a lot of marketing work. And I'm grateful for you giving me the opportunity to come on here, talk about my book, and hopefully that leads to some book sales, and then it continues. So I'm going to continue to talk about what I talk about. I'm going to continue to just be honest, and like I said, I put it in writing, so you can go and you can go and get the book and listen. And hopefully, if you like what I have to say, and you want to try to move to that intellectual way of thinking, hopefully that can be helpful to people.
Great stuff. Gonna ask you to leave us on one thing.
Yeah.
What would be one or two suggestions you'd have for melanated people as we talk today on March 19th, 2023? Some suggestions for them.
I just think we have to really look internally, okay? And all things happen from the internal, and not look externally for our solutions. I think we have to move to a position of personal responsibility and have a mindset that anything that happens to me, it's my fault. Can't blame this person, can't blame that person. It's about me. Okay. Now we live in a world where things happen and it's not your fault. But even if it's not your fault, you still have to deal with it, right? So I think we really have to create a position of no one's coming to rescue us, no one's coming to save you, right? We have to be in the personal responsibility game and save ourselves, and most importantly, we have to think long term. Because
can I just interrupt? I wanted to come back to tell about the importance of long term, because people don't realize when the rich invest in something, they buy it and they hold on to it. They don't sell it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
sorry
Yes.
in extra bonus time, but if you can go a little bit deeper on that, I'd appreciate that.
So if you look at all successful investments, the most successful investors in the world, right? They all think long term. Okay. If you look at Jeff Bezos and Amazon, for 10 years, after he went public, investors are saying, "Oh, Amazon's not making money. We want Jeff to do this, do that." And Bezos just said, "No, this is my plan. This is my strategy. I'm thinking long term." And look at Amazon now; they own the universe, right? So what I'm trying to say here, okay, is when you think short term, okay, your decisions are not going to be good decisions because you're doing things for expediency's sake, as opposed for the long-term wealth creation and for the success. So me, I've been a guy who's been at entrepreneurship for a long time, okay, and I'm there, but I continue to make long-term decisions because sometimes you're in a situation where you feel like you got to make the short-term decision, but the short-term decision after a short period of time is going to come back and haunt you, okay, and it's going to come back and kill you. So if you really think long term, so for Black folks and whatnot, we have to think intergenerationally, right? Opportunities. So for example, you see all these guys now, white families or whatnot, they have wealth or whatnot. That's all intergenerational wealth that's been passed down. Now, ill-gotten or not, we understand that. But the point is, you got to think long term, and you gotta be, you can't be selfish too. If you're trying to create wealth for your family, and your society and your country and your people, okay, you got to just make good decisions. And when you make good decisions, and you have to not be selfish, and you really got to think long term, and that's really the best piece of advice I can leave. And I've only and the wealthiest investors in the world will all tell you that you have to think long term. The short term players, they blow up 3 to 5 years, but the guys with the long term visions, they succeed. So I think we really have to think long term, think intergenerationally, and understand what we do today. We may not be the beneficiaries of that. It will be our kids and our grandkids. And if you could think like that, you're doing it for your people, as opposed to doing it for yourself, right? And applied intelligence, what we do is we create a framework, okay? So the applied intelligence model is a framework. I even have an equation there in terms of how it works. I have the math on that, right? So what happens, applied intelligence creates a framework for thinking so you can make the best decision as we plug in the data and the information and all that, and we analyze that data and we analyze that information. All of that mathematical process helps you make really good decisions. So really, at the end of the day, applied intelligence is essentially a framework to make good decisions. So if we can apply intelligence and if we can think long term, okay, we can get it done. But we got to remove ourselves as far as possible from that ignorance and that emotion, and stick with the intelligence, as Marcus Garvey said.
Wonderful way to close it out. Thank you, Perry, for dropping knowledge bombs as always. A few last things before we let Perry go. So this is where you can buy the book on Amazon. And I'm also going to, so when you go to that link, family, you're going to see, just give me a moment. You're going to see, there we go. New Thinking for the Caribbean. You will see that.
Yes.
Come on, page. This is what it looks like. So that's what it looks like on Amazon. So that's where you need to go and check it out on Amazon. Also, you can catch Perry on Medium, the Medium platform. And then also that's where you can catch him on YouTube. So everything is there. So Perry, thank you as always for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will do for the Black environment. Appreciate you. And remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And I'm going to have you back because we need you. We need you. Yeah, definitely as a regular contributor, because we need
100%.
Okay. Much
100%.
appreciated.
On any issues you want, right?
Thank you so much.
My
Take care.
wife
Keep the faith.
Thank God, because I'm always talking to her about issues. So Talk to somebody else. Is probably saying.
Hey, we'll bring you on. And tell Ray, can I tag along one day?
I'll let him know. I'll let him know.
All right.
I think he's watching anyways. I hope.
I hope so too. Take care, my brother.
Okay, brother.
Bye-bye. All right, family. Epic conversation with Perry Douglas today. Please check out the book. The least I want you to do is check the replay and sit down and think. Sometimes the best way you can learn is listen to people who have different opinions than you. Right? Because sometimes if we keep on doing what we're doing, we're going to keep on getting the same results. So the question I'm sure Perry would ask is, as you as a melanated person, are you happy where you're at? Because if you're not happy where you're at, you got to change something. Because in this world, you're either going to change or you're going to be changed. Why don't you initiate the change instead of being forced to change because even when you don't change, you're changing, you're staying the same. And a lot of times you're moving behind. And he also mentioned something about Jeff Bezos. People don't realize that you got to be a risk taker. If you look at his story, he left a $300,000 to $400,000 job to start Amazon. A lot of people be happy making $300,000 a year, but he said, you know what? I'm better than this. I can be better than that. And a lot of people distracted him, but now his company is, if I'm not mistaken, a $500 million a year company. Not saying it's for everybody, but I think at least one person should check that out. So as we close up today, a few things. You can subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show. Best place to subscribe is on YouTube, but also you can subscribe on Facebook, all other places, catch the replays all over the place. If you subscribe on YouTube, you can also hit the notification button so you get notified when epic conversations happen. Also, you see on the bottom, you can catch replays of the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Also on my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com, the Dr. Vibe Show. And if you want to get a hold of me, number of different places. The website, email address, dr@thedrvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter @drvibeshow, and Instagram at the drvibeshow.com. So we're going to close it out with this. Also, if you'd like to promote your business or service on our show, please contact me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. That's it. That's a wrap. Black Canada Talking. Lots of always great conversations. Follow me on whatever platform. We always have epic conversations. So as always, I close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect, and remember to give yourselves grace. God bless, peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good.
Reparations.